Donnell Bennett is the featured back. Anders, the fullback. Bennett straight up the middle. Donnell Bennett to the Raider 36.
Boy, I'll tell you, Kimble Anders, number 38, gets a sensational block, and that hole is there.
Bennett. Touchdown.
Donnell Bennett, second effort, gets in for 12-yard touchdown, 21-3.
Remember when it was a grinded-out offense that Kansas City had? Kimble Anders, touchdown. Kimble Anders, touchdown Chiefs. Second touchdown for Kimble Anders.
Third down and 7 from the 45. Straight drop by Gerbach, flips it out to Anders. Can he get the first down? Yes, and a lot more inside the 40. He's got one man to beat, Pierce across the right side, and Kimble Anders stretches for the touchdown. 55 yards.
Welcome into 4-Minute Offense, everybody. Not brought to you, I should say, by Andy Reid, as he doesn't believe in a 4-minute offense or a run game, but I'm Noah Groniger, alongside Clint Schweitzer, our great Chiefs fans over here, Shane Williams of Shaggy Shane Entertainment, Brian B. Shynin, Hot 103 Jams, The Morning Grind with Shay and Shine, and our man, the star of the show down there, Kimble Anders. Donnell Bennett will be joining us soon. Gentlemen, it was a tough AFC Championship game loss. Looked like it was everything turning up roses. It was golden. We're going to Super Bowl 56, 21-3. And then the wheels fell off, gentlemen. Clint, I got to go to you first. What are your thoughts, man, after that tough AFC Championship loss?
Well, the wrong person to kick it to, because Noah, since Sunday evening, I'll tell you what, I haven't tasted food, and it's not because I have COVID-19. Every song on the radio sounds like it's Creed or Limp Bizkit to me. It's just like the world is out of cosmic order. Shane, I know you're like me. You look at things at kind of a metaphysical, kind of at a macro level, the NFL, and you do a great job relating things and situations and people. And to me, this has to do with the Chiefs' legacy, and specifically the legacy of the core group of players that we have on this team that won Super Bowl 54 and that has been to 4 straight AFC Championship games. I think that because of what has taken place, this knocks the Chiefs down a peg. And going forward, guys, there's so many capable quarterbacks, Shane, in the AFC that the Chiefs are going to have to get back in line and reshuffle the deck. And from here, it's just going to be kind of a crapshoot. And I know Andy Reid and this franchise can get back on track and can certainly get back to where we've been. But man, it's a killer. It's a bummer. Noah and I are heading to the Super Bowl next week, and we're doing it without the Kansas City Chiefs. Shane, I'm bummed, buddy.
We all are. We're all feeling it. Every single one of us, all of Chiefs Kingdom. As you talk about next year, we'll talk about next year later on, but specifically to the quarterbacks that the Chiefs will be up against now, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid will still be in the mix, but they no longer will be the favorite. It sucks to say that. It pains me because I've been on the Patrick Mahomes train before he was drafted by the Chiefs. He deserves all the accolades, but something happened to him in the second half that we can't quite put a finger on that needs to be dissected and analyzed. And to this day, 3 days later, I still don't know what happened to him on a 3rd and goal at the 9 with 39 seconds left. You have Travis Kelce breaking free. Instead, you decide with having all time in the pocket to take an 18-yard loss and fumble the football. Championship quarterbacks don't do that. Hall of Fame quarterbacks don't do that, but Patrick Mahomes will be in the Hall of Fame. But still, there's something that needs to be dissected and questioned, and it's painful. What do you say, Kimble?
Hey, it's football. That's one thing I would say, and he made some not so smart mistakes. You know what I mean? That's something like you say, a championship caliber quarterback gonna make those mistakes because most of the time, at that particular time of the game, it's all he do is get rid of quick and had things to do. But he chose to run around and go back to what he did early in the season, which hurt us during that time of the season. So, and it's hard to ever say what's on his mind. We'll never be able to pinpoint exactly what happened besides we lost. That's just a game. That's how the game is played, and trust me, I feel that they went out there and played their best game, but their second half was off. And right before the second half of the end of the first half, the way it ended, that was not Chief football. It wasn't good football at all.
Right.
Yeah, Donnell, what did you see? You were at the game. I mean, they went away from the run that was working so well for them in the second half. They're dropping 8 guys. I mean, Sam Hubbard, the defensive end, was dropping back. That gave them 8 guys, only rushing 3, and they just would not run the football.
Well, I mean, we've been throwing the football all year, so it's easy for us to sit up here and say, yeah, you should have ran the ball. You should have ran the ball. I think it just boils down to, all year long, Pat's been used to making those plays and scrambling and buying time and doing things to allow people to get open down the field, and it just didn't work out for us in this game. I mean, it's when it worked, everybody was celebrating him and saying he's a playmaker. I've always been in the better quarterbacks, in my opinion, and I'm not knocking my boy Patty in no way, shape, or form, but receivers and running backs, those guys make plays. It's your job to just get the ball in one of their hands and let them make the play. And he's been making plays for us in the past, and we done celebrated and jumped up and down. So I'm not discrediting him at all. I just think that, at some time during the game, like, you just got to sit in the pocket and be a quarterback and be content with allowing the tight end or the running back, the number 2 running back, to catch the ball and go make a play for you. I just think, he's used to that. He's a playmaker. That's who he is as a quarterback. That's what we love. And you same thing, make you laugh, make you cry.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Brian,
I'm not mad at him at all, man.
And Brian, I know you have a thought on the run game. As you've been propping that up for the Chiefs to go to that more, especially with Jerick McKinnon, even Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is kind of in the doghouse from time to time here in Chiefs Kingdom with the fan base. He was running the ball well, I believe, over 5.6 for McKinnon, 6 yards a clip for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They didn't go to the run game. The Bengals were dropping 8. It was right there for the taking, and the Chiefs wouldn't do it.
Man, this offseason we went and we got these linemen, right? And to protect Pat, but the strength of this line is running the ball. Look at Orlando Brown. You got the 3 monsters in the middle, and you don't use them. You got soldiers, but you don't use them. And it was so frustrating, man, to be at the game and to see the Bengals just drop back. Jesse Bates, his first 2 or 3 steps is back. Why? They're protecting the pass. And the run was there all day. McKinnon was getting 4 yards a pop. You just said Clyde was looking good. The sequence in the second half would always be first down, run, get 4 yards. Pat would pass. It would be an incomplete pass or interception or whatever. Third down, if we got to third down, another incomplete pass, punt. It was the same exact thing that it was in the first game. And that was so frustrating. It was like the Chiefs did not go back and learn their lesson from what was going on. So I think we lost that game in the headset. As bad as Patrick played, he played bad, because I want to go back to his decision to not throw it to Demarcus Robinson at the end of the first half. I know that was probably a design play to go to Tyreek on that left side, but if he had waited just a little bit more and he had threw it to Demarcus Robinson, he would have popped wide open, because there were 2 guys on Tyreek Hill. A lot of decisions that was made that was questionable, but I think we lost that game in the headset.
That's interesting. And Shane, I want to kind of go to you on this, because, we've seen 3 different times, Andy Reid now has blown an 18-point lead in the playoffs. And, people I think unfairly will say Andy Reid's not a great big game coach. He blunders these games away. He went to 4 straight NFC title games and in Philadelphia and didn't win a Super Bowl. We've been, 1 Super Bowl here after these 4 great seasons. But to me, Shane, I think it's a bit unfair, because to be a bad big game coach, you've got to get in a lot of big games, which Andy Reid always is. We don't know what kind of big game coach, Vic Fangio is. Do we know what kind of a big game coach, Mike Zimmer was in Minnesota? We sure don't, because they're not in them. Andy Reid has set kind of a gold standard here in the AFC for the Kansas City Chiefs. These losses are frustrating. This is crippling in a lot of ways, on a larger scale. But are we being unfair with Andy Reid in the way that he managed this game, or is this criticism pretty justifiable here?
You could say either way. Andy Reid's going to get an out because of who he is and everything he's accomplished, especially since he's had Patrick Mahomes. I mean, we've played 4 straight AFC Championship games at home. That's something I prayed for when I was a Kansas City Chiefs season ticket holder from 1991 through 2011. So Andy Reid deserves that, but Patrick Mahomes put him over the top to get to those 4 straight AFC Championship games because Alex Smith didn't play in any the first 5 years that Andy Reid was the head coach. So I think that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are a team now, which is I wrote in my article today about Dan Marino and Don Shula.
Yeah.
The question I have is, like Don Shula and Dan Marino, they only played in 3 AFC Championship games and 1 Super Bowl, and they lost them. And they lost the only Super Bowl. So tomorrow's not. There's no promise in tomorrow. There's no. It's. We can't just say, oh, we're going to be back in the AFC Championship game next year because we have the last 4. That's not guaranteed. Could they? Sure. But as for Andy Reid, he definitely does deserve this criticism because he should have ran the ball more. 2nd and goal at the 4. I would rather have McKinnon run up the middle for a few yards, keep milking the clock because you set yourself up for 3rd and goal at the 1 or 2, and you're taking that clock down because the Bengals already used their last timeout. So, yes, Andy Reid definitely does deserve some criticism for this game last Sunday.
Shane said that Romeo Crennel, Matt Castle will not get my season ticket money in 2012.
I mean, come on, that team was predicted to go at least 8-8 or 9-7
with Peyton Hillis.
Yeah. I mean, we went to 14 and broke the whole thing down, but hey, and burned down the kingdom after that one. But Kimble, from a player's perspective here, we've talked about it ad nauseum throughout this season from you and Donnell about those playoff losses in 95 and 97. You know, we had Marcus Allen on this show talking about crying in the locker room and what that was like. From a player's perspective, when you get that taste of success and you fall just short, man, how difficult is it to rebound and just know that you're going right back to the grind and you got to get it in next year? And now you got 17 games. It's a longer season. It's a longer grind than it ever was. How difficult is that for these players?
Well, it's very difficult. It's something that you got to live with, because I said from being a Kansas City Chiefs back in the 90s, Super Bowl is the most important thing that we wanted to do. And we never got that opportunity to get there. And those losses was very devastating to us. And, you could say next year, but next year will never be the same. You never know what's going to happen next year. And right now the league is changing so much. It's like I say, it's the parity you can see it now because the Bengals was 4 and something last year. And now they're going to the Super Bowl. So at this point, the time is now. You got to seize that moment, and you feel truly, truly bad when you don't seize that moment, and they just didn't do it. So, they're going to go back to the drawing boards and put up some other stuff. And, with the game plan and all that stuff is great until you play the game. Everything can look good on the field, in the classroom and, on the practice session and all that stuff, but you just got to go out there and execute. And we just didn't do it.
Donnell, I want to ask you about kind of the mentality of the team, the players' mentality. At the end of the first half, the Chiefs have a chance to go up 14 or 18. They bungle that. Patrick Mahomes wants to go for it. Andy Reid sends into play. Andy said he sent in a bad play because it left Tyreek in the open field, and that's where Patrick Mahomes went, and he gets tackled, and they wind up with an 11-point lead. The same thing as Week 17. Sideline reporters were mentioning, hey, this is the same deficit that the Bengals were down in Week 17. They said after the game, the Bengals were talking about it. Zach Taylor was talking about it, the head coach. That had to be on the Chiefs' mind as well, and everything crumbled in the second half. Do you think that played into their mentality and that crumble in the second half?
It's tough to say, man. Kimble and myself, we've always been under the verbiage of, coaches coach the game and players win the game. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes is a playmaker type quarterback. Like he lives to make plays. And that's, we celebrated that 2 weeks ago against Buffalo when he was running around, buying time, throwing the ball in the flats to Travis Kelce. Like he tried those same things today. But, I also think players make plays, and the coaches coach. So we just didn't make the plays on that particular play. Like, if Tyreek Hill gets in the end zone, that's the best play call we've ever seen. I just know that's the case, but he didn't get there. So the first thing we're going to do is try to find fault and blame and say who called that and it shouldn't have been called. I'm not saying that I agree with the call, but like it's been some calls that I didn't agree with where we made the plays and it was all good and we jumping up and down and hooping and hollering and all that other stuff, man. I just, that's the nature of the game. Against Buffalo, we were on the winning side of the coin. Against Cincinnati, we just happened to be on the lose. I mean, everybody played their heart out. It was some mistakes made, don't get me wrong, but those mistakes were made with people trying to make plays. If it wasn't that, then it's lack of effort and all that other stuff. Yeah, now you need to point fingers and say we need to make some changes or whatever. But at this point, just like you say, we need to just regroup, forget about what happened. That play's gone. You can't do nothing about it or whatever. Let's move on to the next one, and let's not allow the same stuff to beat us 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
When you just thinking about how far, like what Kimble was talking about with, you never know what you're going to be next year from this. 2 years ago today, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
3 months later, the Bengals drafted first and the Chiefs drafted last. 18 months since that draft, look what happened. The Bengals, with that first number 1 overall pick in 2020, beat the world champion. You know what I mean? Look, draft 1 to the pick 32. That's how much the NFL changes next year. Is the Jaguars going to be in the AFC Championship game next year? I don't know, but look how far the Bengals came. That's how much NFL can change in a year.
Yeah, it's very, very, very true. And that's kind of what I'm going to go. Brian, I'm going to go to you on this one because it's taken me until probably today to start thinking about next season and roster moves. And trust me, that stuff was not at the forefront of my mind at all for a couple days. But as we look at things and the Honey Badger, things kind of seem to be pointing in the direction of him leaving. He sort of pinned a bit of a strange farewell to the Chiefs kingdom, and we don't know what that's going to look like. We know the salary cap issues. You're going to have to replace some talent. We know we're going to, and the Chiefs under Andy Reid have picked no lower than what 20. We picked first overall when he got here, and since then I think 23rd is the highest that the Chiefs have picked. So what do you look to? How do you improve this team? How do you get back to next year? Because every single season in these drafts, those last 3 or 4 years, teams like Shane said, they're loading up. They're getting younger. They're getting young offensive-minded head coaches in a lot of these AFC cities. They're getting their quarterbacks are on their hip, ready to go. And the Chiefs are going to have, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse, man. So how do the Chiefs not only get back to where we were and do a Super Bowl, but stay with the pact here?
I think 2 things come to mind. Number 1, I think a defensive overhaul is probably on deck. But the other thing I want to point to is we need a third option. The third option was absent Sunday during that AFC Championship game. I think Pringle is who he is. He's a great player. Don't think he's a 2 or 3 at this point. Demarcus Robinson, we know what he does. He runs backwards. We've seen this story with him before. So I think the McCole Hardman, where does he stand? To me, in my opinion, a perfect gadget player for this offense. But does he see himself as something more than that? Maybe, I don't know. So I think the Chiefs are going to be in the wide receiver market this offseason heavy. Either I think both drafting and getting a solid number 2 target. Now, the defensive overhaul I was pointing to, I hate to see 32 go. I love his tenacity. I love his leadership. I love everything that he brings to this team. You can tell that those guys depend on him. The whole team. You can tell that Patrick kind of depends on him to get the defense together while he's trying to get the offense together. But there is some tough decisions that got to be made. Yeah. And do you want to give that man a big contract at the age with the injuries and all that other stuff? Not sure about that. I would love to. I think I will point to doing that, but I think realistically, I'm not sure if that's where Brett Veach wants to go. Hitchens, yeah. What does his future look like? Hopefully not in red, white, and gold. 56. Hopefully he's gone. 49. Hopefully we've seen the last of the back of his jersey, because we've been seeing the back of his jersey all season long. So, I think there are several spots we got to get younger at, including linebacker. I think a couple of those defensive linemen, Jaron Reed, he posted his goodbye today. You saw that. I think a defense overhaul is necessary. Not sure about the coaching change in defense. I would like to see somebody younger in there, although I think Spags is a hell of a coordinator. But I think a defense overhaul is necessary.
Spags is a hell of a defensive coordinator.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Donnell.
So like, I know Kimble and I may look at the game a little differently, but like, you know, you named about 6 dudes on the defense that were not up to par or substandard to our liking or your liking or whatever. Like, so for us to make it from the defense really played horrible in the first 4 games, then to get those same 11 people, like we didn't add anybody. But to get them to play good enough to play into the AFC Championship game, like something had to change. Like it had to be some styles of defenses. I mean, the obvious thing is we weren't necessarily playing teams that had high dominant running backs or bigger backs or whatever, and it might have made it a little different. But like I think defensive coaching wise, like we did a good job with taking the people that we had and putting them in position and allowing them to make plays to get us back into the AFC Championship game. Like, I don't know, like that game against the Bengals a couple weeks ago, Jamar Chase or whatever his name, he killed us because we said we're going to single cover him and see if we're good enough to make the 50-50 balls. We lost. We didn't do that in the last game. But, you know, and I'm not pointing at any one individual person or whatever you want to call it, but like on 2 key third downs, we didn't come up with the sack and we had him.
Yeah.
Then the screenplay.
I want to say that
in the third quarter, in the screenplay, like I'm not pointing out individual, like it was some people that I feel could have hustled some more to get to that guy. Maybe not stop him from scoring, but you know, tackle him at the 3-yard line. And who knows what will happen from then. Like I'm always gonna say the players got to make plays and the coaches got to coach. I'm always gonna be that. That was given to me when I got there, and that's just the way it is. I feel like everybody made some mistakes. Whatever the play call, whoever called it right before halftime, okay, that was a mental error. By whoever it was, whatever. But we had ample opportunities after that to go out and make plays. And I still say, like Patrick Mahomes, and even with the third receiver, like Tyreek Hill didn't really touch the ball in the second half. And what number receiver is he? Is he 1 or 2?
He's 1.
Like how many touches did he have in the second half? Like
None.
I'm not discrediting you. I'm not trying to pinpoint and say it's on one individual to say why it happened. But I'm saying this: players make plays, coaches coach. We've got to the point because Patty Mahomes was making some plays, and then like even Sorensen. I'm not a huge fan of Sorensen, but every now and then you look up that dude making one big time play, and then you saying, woo,
and he also giving 2 of them up at the same time.
I'm not discrediting that at all.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, it ain't like one pinpoint thing that we can say we need to change this to be better. It's just not. It's just like collectively as a team, we got to find a way to gel and be playing the best football that we can play at the right time. Because in my opinion, this is my opinion, what was the difference between the Buffalo game and the game this week?
Momentum.
But explain that to me. Expound on that.
When, in my opinion, I don't know what you 5 will think of this. When momentum went against Kansas City, offensively and defensively, you could feel it. And in my opinion, the coaches need to step up and say, we got to change this somehow, some way. They needed to, in my opinion, run the football because Cincinnati was only sending 3. The coaches had to do everything that they could to stop momentum, because once the Chiefs lost momentum before halftime, it stayed that way until the end. Even when the Chiefs won the coin toss, you could feel, man, I'm glad we won the coin toss, but we don't have that momentum on offense. Momentum is the running game, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
And Shane, even to your point where
I
they were
definitely
dropping
agree
8,
with that, bro.
that they were dropping 8, and the ends 94, 91, they were floating. They wasn't even coming up pursuing. They were trying to contain and float and trying to play the pass a little bit. And I know Donnell and Kimble as running backs, I know in the huddle, y'all would have been pissed off at the play calling to know that they're dropping 8 and we're not running the ball to where you guys can eat up 5, 6, 7 yards per carry. And we were doing that on first down. First down, we were eating on the run game.
Yep.
Non-existent.
We're gonna be pissed off, but if the quarterback making a play and getting it to a receiver that's 40 yards down the field for a touchdown, me and Kimble gonna be in the locker room popping the champagne bottles with everybody else. So, like, I get it. Like, I get it from a fan's perspective. I understand that. But internally as a player, like everybody got the same attitude. Like, okay, you threw me the ball and I dropped it. If I would have caught that one pass, the game could have been different. Like, that's just the way we look at the game. Like, coaches coach, we got to go out there and make the plays. If we don't make the plays, it don't matter what the coach call. It don't matter. Facts. It don't matter if he call a running play or dive all the way down the field. If 11 people are on the same page, that dive can go 99 yards and score. But if it don't, then, like, you really can't look to the coaches and say you shouldn't have called dive on 3rd and 13. I remember one time we played the Raiders. I don't know if you remember this, Kimble. Like, Jimmy Ray called Fox 2 run or 4, whatever the draw was, and we backed up on the goal line, and we looked at each other like, a draw? Like, how you gonna call a draw? And bro, like, that thing opened like the Red Sea.
Was it a 98?
I wasn't fast enough to score, but I got about 40. It was about 40 yards. I got about 40.
That had to be 98. That had to be the Sunday night game.
Donnell, I think I was at that game.
Maybe so, but
January 2000, the last game of the 1999 season. I was section 110, row 4. It was 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 11 at the 1 yard line, and Gerback turned and handed to Donnell Bennett, and he busted it for 20.
That's it,
play,
bro. I remember it was a TV timeout. I would never forget it. It was a TV timeout.
That was Gary Thomas's last game.
I'm like, bro, whoever it was. And bro, that thing opened up like the Red Sea, bro. I'm not lying, but like, that's just the nature of the game, man. That's just the nature of the game.
And to your point, Donnell, Chris Jones, a couple of those missed sacks. I didn't mean to interrupt, Kimble. I just had to get that in there.
Yeah. There's been a propensity for that ever since Breland Speaks whiffed on Tom Brady back in October of 2018. It seems like this is, it seems like a sack is never a sack, especially when you're talking about these guys like Josh Allen. Now, Joe Burrow seems to be kind of more of a sitting duck at times and just took 9 sacks a week ago. Not as difficult to wrap up as a Josh Allen. But man, it just when you have those moments and you have those opportunities, it just breaks you as a defense when you don't get those sacks. I mean,
$100 million off Chris Jones and no sacks.
Well, so with that said, we're talking about the overall defense, and I agree with you saying, Brian. I mean, like right now, we got to get a rush in. We got Chris Jones as a defensive tackle is leading in sacks, and that's kind of impossible to do in this league. And you got nobody on the outside that's giving any pressure on the outside edge, and that. So we got to get a rush edge guy. I think we need to look at some cornerbacks. Obviously safety. So I think at the end of the day, they do need to be overall on the defense. Because we need some playmakers on that side of the ball that's, whether it's a young guy, whether it's somebody that's in the free agency that can come out and help us out right off the bat.
I want to talk about a little bit of the stubbornness of the coaching staff. We've talked about Andy Reid's refusal to run the ball, especially in the feel of the game. I mean, it was a few short years ago, we were saying, don't run the ball. Patrick Mahomes is magic. Why ever take the ball out of his hands? But the way the season's going, you see they're dropping 8. You got to run the football. And then on the other side with Spags, great defensive coordinator. But on 3rd down, he takes Bolton and Gay off the field, especially in this game against the Bengals where Gay's knocking down passes. He's showing that he can cover. He's covering tight ends out there, knocking the ball down out of receivers' hands, helping out Fenton. He takes them off for Sorensen and Neiman. I mean, it just seems like they're stubborn in ways. Andy Reid won't run the ball, and Spags just has an affinity, a love for Sorensen and Neiman, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
But y'all funny,
two
bro.
things. Once they believe it, they'll keep you out there. And if they don't believe it, they'll get you off their field quick. That's one thing. So they have some belief that they trust them a little more than others. That, you know, that could be just the leadership or whatever it may be. They trust
to me,
them
guys,
that's why they got to be gone so Spags doesn't have the opportunity to put them on the field.
To me, I want to know like what this is, like what we're looking at as far as this era of Chiefs football, because, you know, we go back to 2018, Patrick Mahomes comes in to start for, you know, for the first time, 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, sets the world on fire. This team is, you know, for 3 years now, we're talking about diminishing returns now for 2 years. Super Bowl championship, Super Bowl loss, AFC championship loss. I want to know what this is. Shane, you talked about the Shula and the Dolphins. Obviously, this team's won a Super Bowl. It's above what they did. But we were talking about, and unfairly so, the expectations become dynasty. I don't like the word. It's you don't want to throw that around, but
I definitely don't like it now.
Right. But now I'm like, what? I don't know what this is. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what this era of Chiefs football is, other than just a wildly successful, entertaining thrill ride that's produced a championship and some amazing moments. But in the end, I think that we needed more out of it, and it's not over. But this, you know, the Tyreek Hills, the Travis Kelce's, this era, this core, it's going to end before you know it's over. It's like Shane, whenever The Undertaker and Triple H and Shawn Michaels walked out of WrestleMania 29, and it was called an end of an era, and it was right there in front of your eyes. It's going to end before we know it's ended.
I don't think we're going to end yet. I think Tyreek Hill is going to get his extension in March, because that's what he's doing. He's doing a monster extension. I think you have to give him that. He's going to be 28 also at the beginning of March.
Right.
So I think you have to give Tyreek Hill that the money. He has to, because he's Patrick Mahomes' main weapon. As for, is this window closing? I don't think it's closing, but I think it needs to evolve. It needs to evolve.
Well said.
It needs to evolve to a power. They need to focus more on defense. And Brett Veach said that yesterday from One Arrowhead Drive at his press conference, that they want to address the defense. You know, and I come from that era with Donnell and Kimble. You know, I'm honored and humbled that I'm even on a podcast with them now. I love those guys. I got their jerseys at home upstairs in my closet. Kimble Anders signed my 38. So we need to make sure and address the defense and get the cornerbacks, get some cornerback play. We need a Dale Carter. We need a James Hasty. We need some corners with want to and passion, that want to get on the field and say, you're not going to catch this ball. Please leave me on an island. We need to freaking address that. We need to make sure that our defense, we got a defensive overhaul. And that's what I'm looking forward to. But as for this window closing, I don't know. I just hope and pray that we're still in the mix next year. We got the players to do it. Let's roll.
Well
now you just said something very key. I think we lack leadership as a player. Like when the momentum, to your point, when the momentum started shifting, like who was walking up and down that sideline, jacking people up, getting everybody fired up, motivating them to say, hey, listen, we're not going to let the same thing happen to us that happened to us 3 weeks ago. Like, you got to go do your job and do your job to the best of your ability, and nothing else is going to be acceptable.
Right.
Nothing else.
That's
we don't have that one guy, that one player. Like, and Tyron, just like you said, would be that guy, but he was hurt the last week and whatever. Like, we don't have that veteran leadership. Like, our superstar is the youngest dude on the team. Like Kimble and I, like, we had veteran leadership. Like, there was no way that I was going to go on the field and miss a block or miss something and be able to walk over to that sideline. Like, it wasn't happening.
Right.
Like, we were friends, but it was not happening. So, like, we just do not have enough veteran leadership on that field to be able to go out and win and that's what it is. Like, you gotta. Well, I don't know, bro.
Accountability.
Leadership to the Bengals have. I mean, they're younger than us. They got Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and a young coach and Zach Taylor. We've got Andy Reid, Spags, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark, and this group. Even Patrick Mahomes, how young he is, their experience. They've been there in these championship games, in the Super Bowls. If you can't get enough leadership to say, let's not let this happen again out of this core, and you say the Bengals do have that, something's gone horribly wrong.
See it, though. Kimble and I were at the game.
I agree.
Did you see it, Kimble? Did you see anybody like going up and down the sideline, walking and clapping their hands, saying, "Come on, let's go." The momentum, I didn't see it. I'm not saying I saw it on the Bengals sideline either, but I know I didn't see it on our sideline.
I agree with
you.
What
about you, Kimble?
I didn't see it either.
I wanna make a quick point. Noah, you made a good point earlier about Spags putting 49 and 56 on the field on third down situations. I want to ask Kimble and Donnell, I want you to chime in as well. I don't understand why these coaches are so loyal to players that are clearly not better than the people that they are ahead of. And you all cannot speak on this if you want to, and I will respect it, and it's totally fine. But we all knew as fans in 95 that Gannon was better than Bono. We knew that. And we knew in 97 that we had all the momentum with Rich Gannon, and they put Gurr back in. And we knew at that point with Gurr back, we knew it was about the contracts, about the money, and you want to showcase him, and that's your quarterback, blase. But other than that, why are the coaches so stuck to players that are clearly not better than the people that they're ahead of?
That's a good question. I would honestly say sometimes I think it's about trust sometimes. I mean, you got a guy that you think that knows the game well enough, and they'll be willing to put him on the field, and having a younger guy coming in that may make more mistakes than that one guy. He may not be the best guy on the team for his play-wise, but you trust him in a defensive scheme, offensive scheme, that he's going to at least be in position to make a play. And sometimes it don't happen, but I think that's one of the biggest things. I mean, it's just a little more political issues with that too. I mean, it ain't just because they like you, but they got to trust you. One thing about, just talking about that, most of the time, if you don't know what you're doing on the field, they're not going to put you in the game anyway. You know what I mean? You're not going to be that guy. But so that they got to have some Storson, whatever his name, for 49. He must be doing something that they really value of him taking the field and trusting what he do, that he's going to be 80% right or 90% right for us being where he's supposed to be, not making plays. So so it's kind of double-edged sword, man.
On the 2-point conversion, I don't know. There was this little Taylor wide receiver out there, and he went and either double chase or he thought he was going to single chase. Both horrendously wrong. We're not going to single you on Jamar Chase, and we're not going to double when no one's out there to guard this Taylor guy in the 2-point conversion. He's been in the league how many years, and he's making these kind of blunders, and he's just not athletic, can't cover in the back end. I won't get it. I never will. If he's there again next year, I'm going to pull a Celtic Pride. I don't know if you remember that movie. Kidnaps the best player on the Utah Jazz. I'm going to kidnap the guy that's a liability for us. I'm kidnapping him before the playoffs, and I'm holding him in my basement.
He's just playing, y'all. He's just playing.
No, I am not playing.
Hey, you just hate him because he has less hair than I do.
That's one reason.
Yeah, coaches are philosophy guys. Like, coaches have a philosophy, and during that time, Marty's philosophy was you don't lose your job because of injury. Like, if you the guy that's injured, you congratulating that. Okay, I can't lose my job because something happened to me that was not really my fault. So, and that was Marty's thing. Like, we understood that. We, the media that whole week, they asking us, who you think gonna do it, whatever. Is Marty gonna what? Like, we gonna say what we supposed to say in front of media, but I know I kind of knew what was gonna happen because that's who Marty was. Like, if you're injured and you come back and you show us you're ready to go and play, and you was the starter before then, you gonna start like that.
But y'all see it in practice. Y'all see it in practice. Y'all see it.
Coaches don't live in that world that we live in. Like, that's the way we are. Like, this dude is better than this dude. Coach will be like, no, he fits my philosophy better than the other dude, so we're going to play this guy. That's how they look at it. And that's why I said what I said before. Coaches coach, players play. That's just, I don't know why that is. I can't answer that, but I know that's what happens.
That's true. I agree.
That's a tough pill to swallow, man.
It is. It really is.
Listen, and Kimble, we know it, bro. We done been on that side of it, and no pun against Gerbach. That was our man, 50 grand. But I'm sure if they would have voted and sent something secretly around the locker room on who we thought should have played as players, it might have not been Elvis. But the coaches, they're in a position not to ask us. They gonna do what they gonna do. But like, it's our job to go out there and go play. It's not our job to coach. So we went
put
out
Matt
there
Blunden
to the
in,
best of our ability.
Yes.
Hey, listen, if they would put him in, guess what we'd have did? We'd have went out there and played.
Of course. Well, guys, I tell you what, it's been a good therapy session for me. I haven't really done a lot of talking about it this game yet. We've, just sort of let I'm an internal person. I don't lash out or like do anything too crazy, but I internalize. So this has been like a therapy session. All of you are here and you've all helped me. So I don't know if you guys have any hourly rates or anything that I could. This is just
light your candles, Clint. Light your candles, man.
Brian, you help. Brian, you're the best. You've been so great these last few weeks to come on with. Shane, I love anytime we could get you, brother. You're always a great voice of reason, and you always you look at the NFL like me. Like I always feel like we're kindred spirits. Like I always look at things from like 10,000 miles above Earth. Like I love that about you and Kimble and Donnell. For you guys all year, this has just been a complete honor and a privilege. You guys are just amazing. Everything that we've done this year, from having our big group sessions with guys like Marcus Allen, Andre Rison, Von Bookers of the world. We've had so many. Pete Stoyanovich joined. I mean, everything that we've done has been so much fun. No, I know I speak for you as well. It's been a complete blast this year, guys. And I hate that it has to end here, but that's it. And can't thank you guys enough for joining us. We're gonna go out here with kind of a best of a couple minutes of the show. So
listen, somebody got to cue up the song. It's so hard to say goodbye.
I'm pouring my 40 out right now.
We couldn't get the rights to that. We couldn't clear the rights to that song, Donnell. So we had to go with.
We do have the rights to this best of. It's a little under 4 minutes of kind of the best of this season. It's been such a blast, an honor to have you guys on and be able to do this show with you guys. And here's this best of 4 minute offense.
Thanks, everybody. Launching this very first episode here of 4 minute offense. And Donnell, before we get into it, you guys came up with the name 4 minute offense. Why did you want this show to be called 4 minute offense? How does that relate to your guys' career in Kansas City?
When we get to the 4 minute part of the game, we're going to run the ball. They know we're going to run it. We got to be tough, physical, hard-nosed, blocking, running, and ball security. And that's just stuck with us for a long time. And we kind of talk to each other from time to time, and we talk about that 4 minute offense.
Yeah, and the thing about it, anytime you're in a 4 minute offense, I mean, you got a chance of winning the game.
Yes, sir.
And Donnell, what was how aware were you of what was going on in Kansas City? Did you even know where Kansas City was, by the way?
Well, at first, you know me, I was like, and all my friends was like, I'm going with Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and all that. And once I got there, I learned that was the wrong state. But anyway,
do you guys miss River Falls, Wisconsin at all? Do you guys want to get back up there, do some 2-a-days?
Hell no.
Hell no. Not at all.
Y'all appreciate this. I don't know if y'all knew this. Timmy, I don't know if Tim Grunhard remembers, but so I took the ball and I went right inside on Joe, and I got like 3 yards on the play, but the play was designed to go further outside of the tackle. So we went 3 and out, and we going to the sideline. And what was our offensive coordinator's name then? What was his name?
Paul Hackett.
Paul Hackett was hollering from the sideline like, Greg Hill, where the hell you going? Where the hell you running at, right? And so I'm about to answer him, and Joe Money answered the question first. He said, man, shut the hell up and stand on the sideline and call the plays. He went where he was supposed to go. And so I was like, oh, man, Joe Montana just stood up for me. I was pretty good, right? We get to the sideline, and I'm drinking some water, and Joe come over to me. He said, hey, man, if you don't get your fucking ass in that damn playbook, I don't know what else I got to tell you, man. I can't keep doing this for you. Like, that's what he really said.
I'll say this. I feel better now with this group as we're vetting out these old emotions. This is like a therapy group. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad I was able to join.
It's a safe place.
Did I not tell you this is what this is, Dave? This is our therapy group. Welcome.
Tonight it is for me. I'll tell you that. Because,
This is Noah Groniger alongside Clint Schweitzer. Our guy Donnell Bennett is here, and we have a very special guest. You see it right there. You may know him as Bad Moon. You may know him as Spider-Man. That is Andre Rison. Welcome to the show.
What's up?
What's happening?
We've got a question here that came in, National Scouting, from our YouTube page. Andre Rison, Andre, out of the three of you on this set right now, I think he's talking about Donnell and Kimble, not me and Clint. Who had the better hands? And do you think, Kimble should have been considered for the Hall of Fame or Chiefs Ring of Fame?
Nah, hey, who would ask that question?
Hey, that's Kimble hands down. I see Kimble catch.
I say Kimble too.
Swing passes.
Wow.
Behind him, like
Yeah.
I get out with the Kimble. Now, if the pass is coming in front of you, and you're facing the ball, I might have to get out with to myself. I might have to get out with Peter Parker. Peter Parker. Now, you notice we were always careful when we threw screens to Donnell. It was
Bro, I had good hands, bro.
And that was T-Rich.
That's what you talk about. T-Rich. T-Rich, bro.
We didn't even throw any to T-Rich.
And there you have it. That's our best of 4-minute offense. And we thank everybody for watching all season long. Kimble, Donnell, it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you guys all season. And hopefully we can do something again next year, my friends.
Definitely.
Brian, thank you so much for being with us these last few weeks. It's been a blast, buddy.
It has.
Nah, man, thank you all for having me on. I would love to ask Andre Rison why the hell did he go to the Raiders after he left the Chiefs, but I'll say that for another day.
Yeah, we'll get him on again. We're in talks, so we'll have him on and we'll get you to ask that question. So thank you, everybody. This is 4-Minute Offense. Noah Groniger, Clint Schweitzer. Shane Williams has already left us. Brian B. Shynin, Kimble Anders, Donnell Bennett, the stars of the show. We'll see you in 2022.
All right.